Number 1. So hey guys, I've been lurking this sub for like 2 years, and thanks to the wonders of online dating, I finally have quite the story to share with you. I use Tinder pretty frequently, and it's usually cool. Meeting people, chilling, smoking with them. So I matched with this dude named Charlie, and he seems pretty cool. He's really cute, and he plays music, which is really appealing to me, as I also sing and play piano. We talk for a little while, and I agree to meet him at his house. Mistake number 1. Boonmoo the cats. Why did I think it was a good idea to meet a stranger in their home? I don't drive, so I take an Uber over, and it's a decent way away, so it's kinda pricey. When he buzzes me into the apartment complex, I got this really creepy vibe, but I shook it off his nerves. I go up to the 3rd floor and he's standing at the door. Things are cool. We're just chillin'. We smoke a couple of bowls and we're watching a movie. So he makes a move on me and I go with it. We end up on the bed and we're obviously engaging in adult activities, when out of nowhere he wraps his hand around my neck. Hard. Now that's all fine and good with me. I mean, I can dig that in the right setting. But alone in a stranger's house when he didn't even check to see if it was cool is not one of those settings. So I literally can't breathe, and I'm fairly certain I'm turning blue at this point, and he is just relentless. Not only is he asphyxiating me, he is now yelling in my face,
"Are you scared?"
with this wild look in his eyes, and I'm like, fuck yes, I'm scared. You are trying to kill me right now. I start to struggle, and he was gripping even harder. I'm not even kidding you guys. I seriously thought I was going to die. By some miracle, I wriggle out of his grasp and start screaming. He's yelling at me to calm down, but I'm frantically trying to put my clothes on. He grabs my wrist as I try to leave, and I use all my strength to pull away and slam the door. As it was closing, the charming fella bid me adieu with the words,
"Fucking cunt."
I get home and look in the mirror and have hella bruises on my neck. I try to cover it up with makeup to no avail. I straight up look like I was almost strangled to death. Then he texts me saying,
"I think you need more than one dick."
and I'm like, oh really? You want to bring a friend and kill me together? How lovely. Anyways, I blocked him and reported him on Tinder. I wish I could have done more because I seriously think he would have killed me. I've been debating about going to the police, but the bruises are gone, and it's a he said she said thing. But I'm really starting to wonder if I should, because the next girl might not be so lucky. 0 out of 10. Would not attempt murder again. Crazy strangler Tinder dude? Let's not meet. Number 2. This is my first time posting to this site, so be kind. I'm sorry if I give a little too much background info, but I think it's important to the story. Hope you enjoy. Let me preface this story with this. I have always attracted creepers, and found myself in bad situations. Recently, I thought a lot about why, because I'm in the midst of a creeper problem right now. I think it's a combination of factors. For starters, I smile a lot. It's partially because people compliment my smile, so in the put your best foot forward mindset, I tend to lead everything with a smile. More than once I have given a guy the wrong idea that I was flirting, which leads to the subsequent you were leading me on whine. No, I was just being a genuinely decent and nice person with a natural, bubbly and friendly personality. I also have a fairly reckless regard for my own personal safety, and tend not to see the worst in people, because I don't edit the scene quickly enough for my first pangs of uneasiness. I am constantly forgiving infractions in the mindset of, it wasn't that bad, they deserve another chance. I probably have close to a dozen stories I can post, but as a first-time user, I'll start with this one. This happened when I was 21. I'm now 23, when I was in a university in a small Canadian city. I mention that it's small because you could walk to all the important places within 45 minutes. So naturally, being a young and fairly broke student, my friends and I would walk to the clubs instead of opting to spend the money on a cab. Young and wild, we'd rather spend our money on drinks and after-club pizza than safety. This was right after a fairly emotional breakup. I'm no stranger to breakups, but it's especially tough when the only reason to break up is that two people's lives are going in different directions despite being in love. Anyways, my mindset that night was to try and enjoy myself and forget about the breakup for a little while. I found myself in a club with my girlfriends doing the normal post-breakup ritual, drinking, dancing, and getting moral support from my girls. Around 1:30 a.m., I was tired, drunk, and on the verge of tears, so I decided to go home. With promises to text them when I get home and to catch the next cab, I left them in the club and headed outside. It was a Canada in February, which means snow, ice, and lots of sand. The sand is more important than it seems. Per usual, once outside I decided to walk home. Now this city has a bad area at night. During the day it's a nice park, but people are always warned to stay away at night. My apartment was just a quarter of a mile or so from this park, in a more gentrified area, but the quickest way there from downtown was around this park. I was in a blue and black dress, tights, and insanely high heels, with my big winter jacket, stumbling around drunk on the sidewalk at 1:32 a.m. I know, not safe and very stupid. The heels were the main thing causing my problems because I had to walk slowly on the unsanded parts of the sidewalk. I was getting to the edge of the park and I near my apartment and the big hotel on the street corner when I saw them. There were two of them, just standing a few feet from a street light in my path, mostly hidden by shadow, just watching me. They were completely blocking my path. I considered getting off the sidewalk, but that meant vaulting a pile of snow and possibly getting hit if a car came, so I kept walking, hoping they'd move once I came up to them, or start walking away before then. When I was within a few feet of them, I said, "Excuse me," hoping they'd let me by. They didn't, and instead introduced themselves with the same name. We'll call them Tom 1 and Tom 2. Tom 1 started babbling about what a cold night it was, and how they were about to go inside because they lived right up the street. Tom 2 was just staring at me like I had no clothes on, every now and then looking at Tom 2 rubbing his mouth. Cold and uncomfortable, I smiled, nodded politely, and said I had to get home. My friends were waiting for me. They still didn't move. At this point, if I had been sober, I'm sure I would have been freaking out. Two strange men, both a lot bigger than me, not letting me get by, and staring lasciviously at me. Unfortunately, or maybe fortunately as it turns out, I wasn't, and was really just starting to get annoyed more than anything. It was at this point that Tom 2 spoke for the first time, and he said something along the lines of,
You'd look like you'd be good for a good fuck. Maybe all three of us at once. Or Tom 1 can go first and then I'll go.
This obviously caused me to snap into a little more wariness, as I eyed them up in silence and considered my options. Tom 1 just smiled at this as I took a step back, and he invited me back to their place. When I was silent, he simply said,
If you want us to leave you be, we will, and you can get by.
so I asked to get by, and Tom 2 gave Tom 1 a mischievous grin, and they stepped apart so I could get by. Again, sober me would have realized that having my back to them was not the greatest idea, but I wasn't thinking clearly. As soon as I got a couple of steps past them, one of them, I'm still not positive who, but I'm pretty sure it was Tom 2, came up behind me and grabbed me around the waist with one arm and tangled one hand in my hair. It was really long at the time, down, and my hood wasn't up, and whispered in my ear,
Be fucking quiet, 'cause you can scream all you want when we get to their place.
He started dragging me backwards into an even less lit area. But drunk me decided to take action. If I had been sober, I honestly think I would have froze, and then God knows what would have happened. I managed to turn around, ripping out a ton of my hair, that hurt the next morning, and punched Tom in the face. That hurt even more. He was so shocked that he immediately let go, and I took off in my 5-inch heels. I think the two Toms were so shocked that I fought back that they didn't even chase. Luckily, the area beyond was well sanded. See? Important. So I didn't slip a lot as I sprinted the last quarter mile to my apartment. I stumbled into the apartment, and my roommate, who was still awake, freaked out because apparently my hair was a wreck, my coat unzipped, and I had mascara all down my face. I told her in broken sentences what happened, and she told me not to call the cops since I was drunk and now home safe. Great friend, right? The next morning, I woke up with my hand swollen twice its size. Luckily, nothing was broken, and I called my ex-boyfriend to tell him what happened. The next time I saw him, he taught me how to throw a punch without hurting myself, and applauded that I could run in heels. I can honestly say that it was only the next morning that I freaked out. The Toms had bad intentions. I'm sure of it. If I hadn't been able to get a shot off, who knows what those boys would have done to me. Number 3. Hey, female, 24, UK. I love this subreddit, so I thought I'd finally share a memory from my childhood. Also, a friend just called about her nearing holiday to Turkey, and it jogged my memory while browsing. Despite my family being working class and my father being unemployed for most of my childhood, due to my mother's savvy teletext budget holiday package deals, we went on holiday every year. Usually somewhere close in Europe that was the cheapest with the highest star-rated hotel we could afford. We'd often go for usually 10 days or 2 weeks and would travel about the area to different towns and cities wherever we were. We usually went to either Spain, France, Portugal, multiple Greek islands, Cyprus many times, and both once Egypt and the US. Looking back, I was incredibly lucky to have these experiences so young, and to have seen so many places and experienced different cultures with my family was fantastic. The memories of these times are close to mine and my family's heart, as my older brother died of cancer 6 years ago. These 2 events took place the first and only time we went to Turkey in '97. They are by no means a reflection of the country. I otherwise had an enjoyable time and would love to go back as an adult. Plus, I'm Armenian, so you know. I'm not sure where we were, and can't ask my parents as they are in Albufeira, and don't get back for a couple of hours, so I'll edit later. I know it was coastal, and I'm assuming more to the mid side. I went with my mother, father, and 2 older brothers, Joseph, 12 at the time, Matt, 9, rest in peace, and I was 6. My father and brothers have dark hair, dark eyes, and tanned skin. Me and my mother are very pale, very blonde, with very light greeny blue eyes. At the time, my hair was very long past my bum and got curlier the longer it got. I was complimented a lot because of my coloring and my hair by random strangers all the time, and even modeled as a child, mainly for boutique children's clothing and an international florist chain. My mum and aunt had their own independent flower shop at the time, and the court bought the promotional pictures off them for their display books too. I only mention this as the year I was born, a young blonde-haired, blue-eyed boy named Ben Needham went missing in Greece. He lived 20 minutes away from me. It was a massive case in the UK, highly public and heavily funded, but they never found him, and in some child sex circles, light-haired, eyed-skinned children bring more money. Sick, I know. My parents were understandably cautious when going abroad because of things like this, and due to us obviously being tourists. Strong accents. And we were a young family. They were aware of our vulnerability to theft or other things. First instance was about 2 days into the holiday. It was mid-evening, about 7 p.m., and we had just been sat in McDonald's having ice cream. I remember because they had blue coconut flavoured syrup that we didn't get in the UK, and I was delighted. We walked through the main square down a side street that accessed a market. There were stalls either side of the walkway selling clothing, food, and home items, and it was very busy. To get through the crowd efficiently, my mum was walking in front with my 2 brothers, while I was behind with my dad holding my hand. As usual, my brothers ended up arguing and causing a bit of a scene like kids do, and my dad let go of my hand to help my mum discipline them. Almost immediately, a tall man walking the opposite direction, the way we had just come from to the main square, around the same age as my parents, late 30s, grabbed me and hoisted me over his shoulder and began pushing quickly through the crowd at an alarming pace. I admit it foolishly took me about a minute to start screaming as I was so in shock. Hearing me, my dad immediately ran after us, yelling my name the whole time, and being in pretty good shape, he caught up pretty quickly. He grabbed me off the guy as I reached out to him, screaming and squirming away from the stranger. Super Dad. The creepy fucker just ran off, and with me in his arms, my dad couldn't chase him. It didn't really click with me with how close I had been to being taken. My parents were understandably terrified. Second instance was about 4 untroubled days later in the sunshine. We had decided to go on an all-day boat trip, 10 a.m. till 6 p.m. It was a small 2-deck ship with service for about 100 people excluding staff. However, it was half empty, so there was plenty of space. First we sailed to a small island zoo. As a child, I thought it was brilliant, as a lot of the non-dangerous animals roamed free. There weren't that many dangerous ones, a couple of caged lynx, a single rhino, and some fenced-in giraffes that definitely should not have been there. As an adult, it was obviously someone's private collection kept safe out at sea, which is horribly sad. But like I said, as a kid it was awesome. We were supposed to have a lunch of fresh fish caught on the boat and rice before heading to a cave, that when you flashed lighting under the water, the stones under the surface reflected it back different colors. I don't know how, but again, as a kid it was awesome. Anyway, it was about 1 or 2 p.m. and they were cooking lunch. My parents had gone downstairs so they could get ours when it was ready, and save us seating and a table, as up top deck was just bright orange sun lounges and no tables. As it was almost lunchtime and the hottest part of the day, most people were downstairs. My brothers were on top deck with me, but playing at the front of the boat. I sat near to the back. The sun lounges lined up against the back were occupied by a man in his 60s, large belly like a tumor, and a thick, dark moustache. He was wearing black shorts, lots of gold rings, black sunglasses, and a red fez. He had been continually smoking cigars, but I had yet to move, as the smell reminded me of my grandpa, and I didn't mind it so much. Either side of him were 2 attractive young women in their 20s in bikinis. He had been sat there all day, and had been having drinks brought to him by staff. He was obviously important. My mother had bought me a purple printed scarf while there, and while on the boat I had tied it round my neck and non-existent breasts like a halter top, securing it at the back. It matched my purple bikini bottoms and I loved it. After a while, the old man called me over with a, "Hey. Hey, little girl." Both women had moved to the left side of him at this point, spread out sunbathing or maybe snoozing. He was patting the now vacant space to his right as he called me, gesturing with his head. Stranger danger went out the window as I curiously walked over to him and sat down. I can't remember exactly what he said in between, but he just asked a lot of questions. What's my name? How old am I? Where am I from? Who was on the boat with me? As he's been talking to me, he lightly touched my arm, and then started stroking my thighs and eventually my back. Both hands, now on my small body. I inwardly cursed myself the loosely tied halter neck scarf, suddenly feeling very exposed as I begin to freeze up. A literal shiver went down my spine. I still get a weird cold feeling inside thinking about it. Luckily Matt had turned around to see me with a stranger's hands on me and alerted Joseph. They ran downstairs and grabbed my mum, who immediately sprinted up the stairs, frantically calling me to her. I ran so fucking fast when I saw her. He just grinned. We stayed downstairs for the rest of the boat ride. Like I said, it was obvious he was important. Also, whilst buying my first traditional belly dancer's dress, I was in the school play, Hunchback of Notre Dame, and it was perfect. Don't judge. I saw armed police and heard gunshots for the first time. Being from the countryside in England, it was a sound I wasn't really used to. All in all, good trip. 7 out of 10. Would go again. Hey guys, Flamingo Creeper here. If you liked that video, give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you haven't already. If you want more, I do upload every Monday, but if you are impatient, you can check out my previous videos. I would like to thank the Reddit users who gave me their permission to read their stories on here. The links for the original stories will be in the description. I would also like to thank my creepy husband for his guest vocals. If you have any creepy stories and you would like me to read them, you can email them to me or send them to my Facebook. Those details will also be in the description. If you send me a story, please write a brief statement saying how I have your permission to share it with this beautiful creepy community. Keep an eye on my Facebook as I do post daily about anything creepy, from anywhere between urban legends to serial killers. As always, my creepers, be safe, and remember, the monster isn't under your bed, it's in the street.